When humans look at the cosmos, the instinct is to look backward. We search for a beginning, a point of genesis, or a creator who set the physical universe into motion. In classical Indian philosophy, standard non-dualism, known as Advaita Vedanta, answers this search by asserting that the physical universe is an illusion, a projection masking a real underlying divine truth. Advaita Vedanta often illustrates this with a classic metaphor. In the dark, a person might mistake a piece of rope for a snake. The snake is an illusion created by the mind, but the rope, a physical underlying substrate, genuinely exists. Even in philosophies that categorize the material world as an illusion, there is a deep human tendency to cling to the comfort that something physically real sits beneath it all. The Mokṣopāya, a text historically altered and rebranded by later scholars as the Yoga Vāsiṣṭha, rejects the rope entirely. It introduces a severe, uncompromising doctrine known as Atyantābhāva, or absolute non-existence. The universe is not a distorted perception of a real foundation. It is compared to the son of a barren woman, a logical impossibility. Looking at this translated passage from the text, the sage Vāsiṣṭha makes this explicit. He states, "In truth, however, this world does not arise from the absolute, nor does it merge in it." This leads to the conclusion of Ajātivāda, or non-origination. There was no Big Bang, no divine projection, and no origin point. The cosmos was never born. When the possibility of a physical universe is removed, human experience reveals itself as an internal event driven by awareness alone. The only reality the text permits is Chidakasha, the infinite, undivided space of consciousness. It is the blank canvas for everything that appears to exist. This translation outlines how this works, dividing reality into 3 types of space. The baseline is the infinite space of undivided consciousness, the Chidakasha. The text defines this as the pure witness, observing both the real and what only appears real. By isolating consciousness as the only true foundation, the Mokṣopāya argues that our waking life and our nightly dream states are metaphysically identical. Both are just internal movements of awareness within an empty void. The text uses the individual soul, or jiva, to prove physical forms are unreal. As highlighted, the jiva is a temporary limitation of consciousness. It compares the universe to a plantain stem. Peel it apart, and you find no solid core, only layers of leaves. But if the waking world is functionally identical to a dream occurring within an empty void, we are left with an obvious mechanical question. Why does a rock feel heavy? Why does this dream feel so inescapably solid? To explain physical limits without physical matter, the text relies on cognitive habit. It introduces the concept of vasana. These are deep, latent psychological impressions and mental conditioning. Over time, repetitive loops of human perception keep stacking on top of one another. The mind's habit of assuming boundaries eventually condenses empty space into apparent solid geometry. If matter is just mental habit, what about time? Why do events seem to follow strict rules of cause and effect? And why do humans believe in fate or divine intervention? The text uses a metaphor known as kakataliya. Imagine a crow landing on a palm tree, and at that exact millisecond, a ripe coconut falls to the ground. It looks as if the crow caused the coconut to fall. In reality, it is purely an arbitrary coincidence. Applying this to the cosmos, this section of the text confirms there is no creator and no cosmic rules. It explicitly states that waking state causality is itself a dream, and that events are simply accidental coincidence. Removing a creator or cosmic fate from the equation leaves only the architecture of mental habit, shifting the weight of liberation to the individual's own effort. To understand how isolated this philosophy is, we have to look at where it was written, historical Kashmir. The region was dominated by Orthodox Kashmir Shaivism, which argues that the physical world is a real, divine expression of God's sovereign freedom. The Mokṣopāya directly opposes this local doctrine. Instead, its mechanics closely mirror Mahayana Buddhism, specifically the Yogacara school of mind-only perception and the Madhyamaka philosophy of emptiness. Yet it maintains the ultimate absolute, pure consciousness, or chit, aligning it with the non-origination doctrine developed by early Vedantic thinkers like Gaudapada. The Mokṣopāya refuses to fit neatly into any orthodox category. It stands alone as a fiercely independent doctrine of absolute mental projection. Because there is no destiny, or daiva, the only escape from the dream is parusha, aggressive personal action and self-effort. Liberation occurs the exact moment these deep, habitual psychological threads, the vasanas, finally snap. This achieves the ultimate goal, jivan mukti. This is the state of living and functioning fully in the world, while experiencing it internally as entirely empty, dispassionate space. This precise state of mind space echoes through history, showing up in the teachings of 20th century masters like Ramana Maharshi, who espoused identical views on the Chidakasha. The vast collection of myths and parables contained in the Mokṣopāya are not literal histories. They are psychological maps, specifically designed to dismantle reality from the inside out. The Mokṣopāya offers a manual for waking up to the reality of a universe that never was.